Right. Very quickly, I have found the this is actually from the post that's on my site. That's annacooling.com, and this went up this morning. But I'll just expand the chart. This is the daily chart, and the good news for the indices that they are actually trading above what we call their volume point of control. This is kind of the fulcrum at the moment of the market for the NQ. I think they all look pretty similar, actually, don't they, David? The NQ, the SP, and the YM. All three seem to be. They all have the very similar chart pattern, certainly on the daily chart. And when I said about, even if you're going to day trade this market, it's always worth looking back on the daily chart, and not just what happened yesterday, but also look back to see, you know, it's clear here we've had a couple of sort of good days, a very narrow day there with you know, there was some selling there, but that is anomalous. It certainly wasn't enough to reverse the market. But the candles which were really interesting are these here. They too are anomalous in the sense of the volume that was underneath it. And when we talk about anomalies, you could have an anomaly in terms of that the price doesn't match the volume, or the volume doesn't match the price. It's not just one, you know, there is one, what word am I trying to think of? I'm trying to think of a word. Can't think. No, I'm trying to think of, never mind, it will come to me in a moment, and it's right on the tip of my tongue. There's not one standard, it's the word like a standard, there's not one, there isn't a standard, you know, this is an anomaly. It's all, you know, you look for one thing. You might be looking at the price versus the volume, or the volume versus the price. It'll come to me when the word comes to me. So the market although that was you know, there'd been a down, the market has sold off, and the volume looks as though that, you know, you've got a higher selling volume than the day before. But look at the wick underneath that candle is really more sort of a doji candle, but there was buying, and there was quite a lot of buying in there. Just because that's red doesn't mean there isn't buying in that candle. Then the following day, there was more buying underneath there, and we know that because there's quite a deep wick to that candle, and that volume was almost as much as this volume under here. Then there was further buying under here, and the shape of that candle will tell you. Why do we know that's buying? Because the price is being pushed higher. So what happens then is you have this sort of bullish sentiment encapsulated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days ago. So there's enough energy in the market, if you like, to push it higher. And that is what has given it a certain amount of momentum to move it now where it is, I don't know, just under, it's certainly over 9,000. The next sort of major level is 996. And then eventually people are saying, oh, is it going to get to 10,000? Well, we'll wait and see. There's all sorts of other, you know, between now and then, all sorts of things can happen. So even if you're going to be trading on a daily basis, on an intraday basis, if you understand volume price analysis, it will give you a sense of what the market could possibly do. And that doesn't mean you're not going to get reversals within the day, because you could have a piece of news. You could have Donald tweeting something. You could have the Chinese saying something. There's all sorts of, you know, landmines out there that could trip up the best laid, you know, analysis. But just to give you a global, a macro picture of what is happening on the you know, on the day, it's really not a bad way to approach your intraday trading. And with regard to what is likely to possibly upend this current rally, as it were, well, I put this up on my Twitter feed the other day. I suppose you could say it's about the recovery to the economy. It's the fundamental news data, the data that's coming in, the unemployment, etc., etc. But it's also, and how that is going to recover is really about a vaccine. The market has taken it upon it saying it's about a vaccine. As soon as a vaccine it comes on board, then the feeling is things can get back to some kind of normality, and countries can start building their economies, because as we know, there have been some dreadful, some whole sections of the economy have been completely decimated. If this is, you are into stock trading or you're into investing, and you want to keep what kind of news to be aware of, well, according to investing.com, there are in fact 5 stocks which are being very closely monitored for this very development. You may have heard about Moderna. There's all this, the press have written about, they worry there may have been a kind of pump and dump scheme. I think they announced that they were, what did they say, David? They were very hopeful about a vaccine, and then the price went down and then it went up. Anyway, I'll leave you to read about that in the press. There's lots and lots written about it out there. There's Moderna. There's, who is it? Inovio. They're all here. Novavax. Some of these I've not even heard of. And that's without the AstraZenecas, the SmithKlines, all the big ones. But apparently, according to the market, these are the ones to watch. So that's that. Behind all this, we also have ongoing tensions between China and the US. Obviously, Donald firing off various tweets about the Chinese and the pandemic, etc., etc. So what's likely to upset the current the current rally in the stock market? As I said, watch out for vaccine and watch out for the US-China tension. So that's what I'd like to say on that. Look at the daily charts, and then we'll look at related markets. I just want to set my chart up. I'm just going to turn my microphone off for 1 second. Hold on a second.